Lions 36, Brumbies 24, folks. That was quite a bit closer than expected, I think. Although the Lions were denied 3 tries, being held up. Varying degrees of should have been scored. And the Brumbies, man, they had no ball. Well, less territory than ball, to be honest. The Brumbies were living off scraps at times, but they still managed 4 tries. Defensive shift and made the Lions concede some penalties. For the Lions, Kinghorn going off injured probably doesn't do his chances at the test side any favours, but their line-out was looking good. They got the power game going at times, especially for the scrum. But a few missed opportunities will probably burn a little bit at the end. We'll go through some of the key events and the stats. You guys can let us know your thoughts on how this one went. To be fair, in Canberra, good crowd, and it was all the Brumbies. To start the game, they opened the scoring. I mean, the Lions conceded a pretty soft penalty from a kick, which gave the Brumbies a bit of territory, which they would be starved of for large periods of this game. And then a maul, Tuilima over from close range. And it is 5 points to 0 to the Brumbies. Remembering this is the strongest of the Aussie teams in terms of Super Rugby rankings. However, also largely gutted in terms of not having their Wallabies guys available. So whether or not this is the strongest Aussie team once they're minus however many Wallabies it was, I think 8, you can kind of put that up for debate. But the Brumbies are a good team and they love scoring tries from close range. They got some electric outside backs. Tuilima gets them on the board, 5 points to 0. But they started having to defend. Not long after that, they did it well, admirably early on. The Brumbies, they won turnovers on defence, repelled the first waves of Lions attack, but honestly, they were a bit too careless in terms of like some of their exit plays, either just dropping the ball in their own 22, nothing kicked to James Lowe, bro. Dude's got a massive cannon of a boot. He's going to return that with interest. And that just led to a lot of pressure on the Brumbies having to hold. Like, you can only hold so many times against a team like the British and Irish Lions. Eventually, the Lions get scrum advantage. They might as well just chuck it about. You get Bundy Aki with a big direct carry, which is something he's been doing all series. And finally, wide ball, Gibson Park to Russell, and pops it to Chesham, who equals the score. And it's a misconversion for the Lions too. So 5 points apiece, and honestly, it felt like it was coming. Dan Sheehan, not long later, powering down the wing for the Lions, fends off Meredith like he's not there. Remember, Lolosio would normally be the guy who runs the ship for the Brumbies, so one of those key positions that they were missing in. He's got himself injured against Fiji as well, which is not good news for the Wallabies going forward. But anyway, Sheehan was looking the business. There's a few guys who you feel like have all but locked in positions for that test team for the Lions, but getting ahead of ourselves. There's still games to go, but he certainly highlighted his power and pace, if that needed to be highlighted. For any Aussie fans not familiar with him, you'll be familiar with Dan Sheehan now. And then it looked like James Lowe has scored in the corner. This is our first of the denied tries, and I feel like it's kind of bad finishing from James Lowe. He needed to score there. I mean, it's great from Muirhead to get his leg somehow under the ball as the Lions ship it wide after a maul, and Aki not going direct this time, going the quick hands route. Because Aki copped a bit of flack from some areas from just being too direct, but this case, no. But Lowe just doesn't finish. I think most wingers finish. His kicking had been on song up until that point, and he would get himself a try later to make up for it, but I feel like he should have scored that one. Probably should have scored that one. Not long later, we lost Kinghorn to the injury, which means Marcus Smith has a few more minutes than he would have been potentially picked to make. He had a weak cameo, setting up a try and scoring one of his own. But yeah, I do feel for Kinghorn because he was the late arrival to the squad, finishing duties with Toulouse so late. And you feel like he probably needed as many minutes as he could get. But with that injury, he doesn't get him. 28 minutes, it's just too much. Again, more British and Irish Lions possession and territory. The Brumbies couldn't escape their own half. Like Ringrose, big clattering tackle, and then Freeman gets himself over the ball, win the penalty to break down, platform for them to go through some phases. Backs again, Aki with the pass again, and Russell, Ringrose, Sheehan, all these guys, I think Conan, all get their hands on the ball. Lowe this time does finish it off in the corner, so the Lions get themselves the lead, 12 points to 5. But good thing about the Brumbies was they never like capitulated in this game. This is not a 50-point drubbing. If they get the 3 tries, they didn't get the Lions, maybe it is. But the Brumbies, man, they actually got some ball in the Lions half, closing in on half time. Nice kick from Ryan Lonergan, who'd not been kicking well off the tee. Well, he doesn't kick well off the tee in the first half. He'd only had 1 shot at that point, but it was a nice touch finder. Got them some territory. They got themselves an attacking maul. Ben O'Donnell, nice wide pass when they had advantage out to Corey Toole, and you ain't catching him. That's how a winger finishes a try. Admittedly, he probably had a bit more space, but he's also got a lot more gas. Corey Toole is unbelievably quick. I don't know if he got as many chances as he would have liked, but he certainly had a couple of line breaks in this game. Joe Schmidt will be keeping an eye on him because he is just raw pace, is Corey Toole. And suddenly we're back to a 2-point game. Lonergan, as I said, not best half from the tee, but 12 points to 10. Although they kind of fluffed their lines at the end, the Brumbies, didn't they? The decision at the end of the first half didn't end well for them. I mean, Marcus Smith puts in a kick through for the for the Lions, which is too big. But he gets a bit of luck and hits the corner flag. So the thing stays in. So the Brumbies have to dot it down, goal line drop out, and then they go with a kind of cute little short range play from that goal line dropout, and the Lions punish them. Matoja is able to get a handled up, and the Lions Ringrose with a big carry, and then Ben Curry, the other Curry, Tom Curry. Sorry, it's after midnight here. Tom Curry's final ball to Marcus Smith for the try is a bit of a peach. So goes from being a 2-point game to a 9-point game at halftime, which sucks for the Brumbies because they just scored not long later. But I mean, credit to the Lions for being ruthless and just kind of keeping on. They had 65% territory, 57% possession in that first half, 4 line breaks to 1, 16 defenders beaten to 7, and a denied try. Arguably, they should have been up a bit more than they were, the Lions. Second half is a bit of a try fest, to be honest. I mean, the Brumbies get penalised at scrum time again, attacking line out, and then Smith puts in a nice dink kick through for Ringrose. Ringrose has certainly put a cat among the pigeons in terms of the number 13 race, because Hugh Jones has been looking pretty good as well. Good problem for Andy Farrell to have. 26-10. But then Corey Toole, again, when he does get himself involved, he's able to put a bit of pressure on the Brumbies. It's after midnight. The Lions in the backfield. He tackles one of the Lions guys in their own goal area after they've taken it back. So 5-metre scrum for the Brumbies. And that's the thing about the Brumbies. When they got chances in this game, they took them. So Lawson Crichton goes over from a great scrum attack and play. 26-17. They just can't quite shake off the Brumbies. Can the Lions? That's good stuff. Good for the game. But then the flurry continues. Looks like Josh van der Fleer's scored a maul try. I thought for sure that was a try. The Aussie commentators I had on my broadcast were sure it was a try. Somehow they didn't give it a try. He would get a maul try later, but that one was denied by the TMO after a fairly long look at it. And then interestingly, the Lions took the 3 points. I don't know what you get from taking the 3 points apart from the 3 points, because it makes it a 12-point lead. It's not like it makes it a 2-score lead to a 3-score lead or a 1-score lead to a 2-score lead kind of thing. You go from 9-point advantage to a 12-point advantage. If they score 2 tries, it's the same result in a way. I don't know. It felt like an odd call. I felt like the Lions against a depleted Brumbies side would have been going for the jugular in the test match. I get it. But anyway, they took the 3. 29-17, still a 2-score game. Then Van der Fleer does get his maul try not long later. I was thinking it could get messy at 36-17, but it does not. The Brumbies keep playing. As I said, they were kind of hard to get rid of. The Brumbies forced the Lions to concede a few penalties. Got themselves one last close range try through Bowron. So, yeah, 36-24. That's the final scoring. It looked like the Lions were going to have the final say. But then bloody Andy Muirhead again is able to hold up a Lions guy over the try line when Chesham gets held up. Probably should have been a try for the Lions, but man, great defensive effort. The Lions still finish with 61% territory, 57% possession, like 6 line breaks to 4 is not that lopsided. But the lineup was 100%. That's good news. Scrum looked powerful. but they still allowed the Brumbies like to win 5 turnovers. And they coughed up a bit too much ball, 15-11. It makes sense when you got more possession, but still they would have liked to be a bit more clinical. The 3 held-ups will burn, and the 11 penalties conceded each. You would feel like with the dominance they had up front at times, they should have been forcing more penalties out of the Brumbies. It shouldn't have been an even penalty count in that one. So, yeah, Jameson Gibson Park got man of the match, but he was clearly not thrilled about the result. A win's a win, but yeah, I think they would have liked a bit more about that. At least the line-out's looking good from a Lions point of view. From the Brumbies, like it's a loss, but there's no shame in losing 36-24 to the British and Irish Lions. Individuals, Muirhead, like I mentioned, a couple of tries saved. He's also got the most run meters for the Brumbies of 54. Tom Hooper had 12 from 12 tackles. Corey Toole, like I mentioned, looked sharp when he did have his limited chances. Conan, massive on the carry, 17 carries, 76 meters. It's a good return, and 13 from 14 tackles. Busy shift from him. James Lowe also busy with 12 carries. Like I said, I think he should have scored that try in the corner. Normally he would have. Ringrose, 6 defenders beaten. Looked real sharp on attack as well. Itoje, dominant line-out time. He won 10 for the Lions. So as I said, some guys putting their hands up. I think Gibson Park's a lock. I think Russell is a lock. Itoje is obviously, he's a lock who's a lock. Yeah, the 13 question. Well, the midfield generally I think is a really interesting one for the Lions. I think Sheehan starts fullback. Probably doesn't include Blake Kinghorn, but we'll see what the state is of his injury. You guys let us know your thoughts on the game. I need to go to bed because it is 12:15 by the time I finish recording, and then even later by the time I get the video up. But yeah, if you guys want British and Irish Lions gear, check the Lions store down in the description. Got a link to the shop, the official shop, if you want to get yourself some gear before the test matches start. Remember, there's only one more prep match against the AUNZ Invitational 15 to come before we get some test action with the Lions. But yeah, get yourself some gear down in the description. And yeah, I will talk to you guys again soon. See you later.